Welcome to Rex Arthur Show. This is the show where we are an LGBTQ channel that provides and conveys different views and perspectives of life in an LGBTQ perspective. And today we are not going to be on the LGBTQ show, we are going to be on the philosophy show, that is the Rivers of Thought Love of Fikir, because we have said Rex Arthur, as you can notice, as a channel is become so wide as a channel, and we have different programs. We have news from other stations and news from other channels. We have movies, we have songs, we have very many, a lot of activities happening in the channel. And so we used to have another channel. We thought it's wise if we had it separate from this one, but I've seen it more wiser to join it and merge it with this one. So it was basically the channel where I was mostly philosophical, and I talk about things when I get chance to talk about them. And today I have a chance to talk about them. And today I'm talking about the nature of law and legalism. And this is come about especially when you look at how LGBTQ rights are being implemented because of laws and because of progressive legislation and laws in the nation. Now, in the nations of the world. And of course, right now, India is also dealing with that. Every country is going to have its moment when they have to face the issue head on. But all of this has made me think about it has made me think about law. And I've been asking myself, why do we make laws? And this being philosophical, it is a very good place to discuss this. Why do we make laws? People make laws for many reasons. Number one, it is make to create order. Basically, laws are made so that there is order in society. So you could ask yourself philosophically, okay, why? Why do that? Why create order? Humans are, first of all, very special high animals. We are the highest animals so far. And we have the ability to create systems, to create cultural systems. We have the ability to control social behavior and mass behavior. And one of the ways to doing that is through laws. You know, of course, when the first human beings began, you will notice something. They did not make laws for themselves. They did things the way they found the world. They would go around and do everything. They did not make any laws. And lawmaking only happened when you find the Hammurabi and a bit of the Egyptians. They also had their laws. And then you have the children of Israel. They also had their laws. So every society, there are some societies that make laws, others don't. And another thing you need to know about lawmaking, it is a time process. It is based on time. You see, if you are a new nation, you cannot make laws. What I mean by a new nation, you've just started living together, and then you make laws. The next thing you know, you're moving out of the place. And this applies to mostly pastoralists or migrations of people or communities that do not stay in one place permanently. And when you migrate, you keep on migrating, there is a sense of no order. So you cannot really implement laws. But when you stay in a place for a very long time, like 100 years, or 20 years is enough, even 30. um, let's put it even 10 years. I mean, it's like a room. You stay with somebody, your roommate, and it's going to be like for 6 months. Basically, you're going to make some laws. And when the staying in that room ends up being 10 years, you will make more laws. Because the longer you stay in a place, the more laws you will make. And this is what happens to many countries. If you notice, the older the country, the more the laws. Or sometimes won't see the military on the street. That was how Italy was run because of the Roman Empire. It was an empire. Meaning things change, and when times change, people change, systems change. And it's just that majority of human beings 100 years. And for that reason, we are not able to assess the world. We are given very little time to assess the world as it is and to provide solutions as it is. That's why people who are very insightful are very powerful people, because they they are able to see ahead of time, and they're able to grasp anything. Because basically, and then moreover, it's not even 100 years. We are actually 60 years. Because from the time you're age 20, you now have kind of a view of what the world is all about. And you now try and chart your way out of the way, try and make your life better. You have goals, you have things to do, and you pursue them with all your strength. And so basically, most people have just 60 years of fruitful living. And then at the end, when they reach 70, 80, they're tired, so they won't do much. And that's why we have retirement. So basically, we humans have little time to do things. But when we are born into systems that have already put laws in place for many years, customs, and all of those things. And so it's that human beings did what? They desired order, and as years went on, as the more they permanently stayed in a place, order was established, and order was established through laws. Now, that's why if you look at the story of the children of Israel, the Moses story, and how they got the law, you need to understand before them, there were countries which already had laws, like Egypt. So, if you're a skeptical person, you'd ask yourself, whom did Moses copy? Maybe he copied somebody. He copied somebody who, copied another country which also had laws. And now he decided to give laws to the children of Israel. Well, that is for the skeptical mind. But if you are a believer, if you have faith, you will know that Moses got the law from God to give the children of Israel. So it depends what mind you are, where you stand in the issue. And so, anyway, now, if you make laws, what is your purpose for the law? These are the questions that run to my head. They've been running in my head, so I've just decided, let me be philosophical now and try and brainstorm on them. When you make a law, what is your goal? Your goal is for people to follow the law. So, what do we get from this logic? The logic we have from the obedience of the law is that when I say A, you do A. When I say you do A, you do A. If you don't do A, you will be punished or you will be fined. That is the essence of law. So, law is basically instruction. It's just like the way you feed your computer with instructions. It's just like you tell your employee what to do. It's just like you tell your children what to do. You know, do this, do that, do this, do that. And basically, so life is set up that way. And that's how law is. So law is basically A, give me A. When I want A, give me A. When I want C, give me C. Like that. And but the problem is reality is not like that. See, reality is not like that. Sometimes you will tell somebody, please give me A, and they'll give you Z. And because they're giving you Z, you will lock them up and deal with them so that they can give you A. You see, that's why people are taken to prison. They are taken to prison because these are people who have failed to keep give A when A was asked for. And so they were told, okay, since you're given us Z, we are going to take you to a place where it will correct you, make you give A. And this is the problem we are having with the gay cure, so-called gay cure or gay conversion therapy. They assume that they can convert a gay person to be straight. So in short, they're actually, when you go for the therapy, I call it these days distraction. It's not even therapy, it's distraction. Because this person was gay all his life. He is gay. And if you change him, if you try and change him, convert him, he will not change. But he will believe, he'll be in an illusion that he's changed. He's different. But deep down he hasn't changed because sex is biological, you know? Sex is biological. Homosexuality is biological. It's not spiritual. It's not something that just hangs in the air. There is a goal in your homosexual attraction. It is to reach. Why are you attracted to men if you're a man? It's because your body wants to connect with a man. And the zenith of that attraction is physical sex. Why are you attracted to a woman? When you are a woman, because your body your body has a goal. There's a sexual goal, and the goal is to sleep with that woman. That's why the desire is there. The desire comes in. It's all psychological, and then it leads you to do the physical act of having sex with that woman if you're a woman. So what happens is homophobes make laws against homosexuals thinking they will obey the laws. And it's impossible. They won't. Because believe you me, if you put two homosexuals in a room in a country whereby it is illegal for you to be homosexual, they'll still have sex. They will. Same to be it lesbians. Why? Because the law cannot stop certain behaviors. The reality is the law is not a solution to an issue that you may not understand. You see, that's the thing people need to understand. Secondly, laws have there are different types of laws. Like when one of the best stories to look at is the Bible stories, the how Israel responded to the law that Moses gave them. They didn't keep the law. Most of the laws in Israel were not kept very well. Why? Because there were some laws that were so cumbersome. Some laws were very tough on the people. And some laws were they were restricting them from doing different things. And so the human nature which we have finds ourselves not keeping those laws. But there is something Paul says. Paul says he prefers the Gentiles than the Jews in keeping the law because he noticed the Gentiles used to have certain behaviors. They were more law abiding than the Jewish people. But there's a reason. Do you know what's the reason? Number one, the type of laws the Gentiles had were not the types of laws the Jews had. And the type of the Jews had were not the type of the laws the Gentiles had. For example, Gentiles had no kosher. They had no laws on diet. They ate anything. They didn't have that this food is unclean, this food is clean. They didn't. But Jews did. And so that tells you diversity in legislation has been there for years, ten thousands of years. I mean thousands of years, not 10,000. People started making laws very recently. Yeah, when we were now settled, there was no more need of migrating, and people stayed. That's when they started making laws. So everybody, I mean, these laws, there's diversity in legislation. And some laws are very tough to follow, others are very easy to follow. And this is why when you go to the prisons and you all go through the court records, you'll be surprised. There are some laws that have never been broken in a country. There are some laws which have never been broken in a country. While there are other laws that are always being broken every day, every day, every day. So a clever person, a law enforcer, would look for those laws that are always broken and keep on circling on that law, knowing that I will get somebody. And that's what I'm saying. That's why most countries have done away with the sexual orientation, homophobic legislations, because they don't make sense. I mean, a straight person will never want to have, will not have sex, will not have homosexual sex. It's given. So it's not an issue. It's That's why you should, in a population where 10% are gay, 10% are gay, and you want to punish them for being gay, the rest are not even going to think of doing gay acts or bother themselves. You see, this is a problem we are having where there is homophobia that is legislated, but it's coming to change thanks to the world, the new legal jurisprudence on the issue, that you make that every person who is different sexually different people have to have their laws that regulate them or should not be criminalized against. You know, there are laws of identity, and laws of identity where you're criminalized for who you are. All homophobic laws are like that. They criminalize you for who you are. And even laws of wages whereby women are paid less, in the sense that uh, if you're in a country and, like, for example, another identity law, religious identity, in the Arab world, you cannot be a Christian and a president of an Arab country. Most Arab countries, you have to be a Muslim. Now, what happens if there is a very clever Arab who happens to be an atheist and he can rule the country very well? They won't allow him because the law says we only want Muslims. And that's why there should be no restrictions. I am a supporter of secular government and secular rule. Even though I am a person of faith, I support secular systems. I prefer them. They are tolerant to everyone, and they can oversee everybody without favoritism. You know, when you have a Christian person, he will tend to favor his Christian lot. When you have a Muslim, he'll tend to favor his Muslim lot. It's very weird to find them doing the opposite. It's because every identity we have is like the animal natural identity in the animal kingdom. The cows walk with cows. Cows, um, they sleep with cows. Goats sleep with goats. It will only take a very clever goat or a conscious goat to think that I think I can try and I can try and sleep with a dog, you know. And we humans, we have that advantage to be higher in thinking. We have it higher. We are higher, the highest animals. So a human can, a black man can have a relationship with a white man or a white woman, depending on your orientation or what you want. So it's not a problem. And we're going to talk about this. The LGBT community is also facing a lot, but we won't talk about it in philosophy. We'll talk about it in the LGBTQ, when you're talking about LGBTQ issues, how racism is also affecting LGBTQ issues. It's going to always affect, because even in the straight system, racism is an issue. Multiracial couples are not really praised, because people wonder, how do you guys even communicate? You're so different. Yes, it's possible. There are heterogeneous relationships and there are homogeneous relationships. And the heterogeneous just find their common values and stay together. The homogeneous are already common, so they really don't even look for any commonality. But both can exist. The whole point is that diversity should be allowed. Now, as I've left you with questions about the law, I was now saying, now let's see. The law has been made, and these people who can't keep the law are jailed. Now, and then we've also talked about the diversity. There are some laws which are so cumbersome. So you really need to have legislators who know what type of laws they are going to implement, how easy laws that can be digested and can be effective and effectualized rather. There are some laws that where they deal with, and this is where I wanted to, this is where my now I'm there are laws that try to deal with people's behaviors that is very impossible to deal with. There is very hard to deal with that behavior. That's what I want to address to myself. Is it that there are some laws that are so powerless in changing human behavior? Well, according to Paul the Apostle, he said yes. He said the law is weak, in that, in his view, the law strengthens people to commit that offense. But I used to value Paul's statement, but the beauty of reading something over and over again and not reading it to get the same preconception, but reading it to find another angle. And now I've got a new angle, and it's making me wonder that if the law is weak, it cannot change that person to make the person different or to do what you want to do. In the sense that when you tell them do not steal, they steal more. And then when you even make the law harder, they even steal the more. I thought to myself, no, I think Paul was too general. Because there are some laws that when you announce them, people won't repeat that thing. That's my view. And if that's the point, then it means human nature can actually obey a law. The majority of human beings are not in prison because they are law abiding. If it was that majority of human beings were not law abiding. Imagine if everybody just went out and committed crime. The jails have to be full. Yes, they were in prison because the law has been broken. So when you see the minority is in prison, it is a sign that the majority are law abiding. So what Paul was actually saying doesn't really hold weight because laws are there, but people are not breaking them. Why? So it's just, this is what philosophy does. You don't just, you have to look at things and think about them. And so if I was to tell Paul that, he would look at me and say, my goodness, you should be with the Pharisees. Because the Pharisees, and that's why I've included the word legalism. They were the best legalists. They wanted people to follow the law to the T. To the T. They had no grace, no forgiveness, no pardoning in them. When you break the law, you don't pay the tithe. They were so serious. Every petty thing had the had every petty thing had a law. And I'm seeing that happening. I see it a lot in the West. Because when you read the Western laws, there are so many, and you like, ah, my goodness. Imagine walking in a day. Even how you walk is an issue. The famous jaywalking is an issue. When you're in Africa, you don't see those things, and you really. I remember even in Africa, when I was in campus, they used to guide us how to walk on the pavement, not to walk on the grass. But it was always broken. Guys would always cross over the grass, and you could see a path of feet or the foot marks on the grass, and it's so hardened now that it's a way. Why? Because for the humans in that campus, their understanding is not, I don't want to walk orderly. I want to get there very fast. So if it means to cross this place, I'll cross it. And so many people who had that view overcrossed the place until it became a path. And when there's already a path across it, it it doesn't look that nice. You'd rather now make a new path from where they're going so that you just say, okay, you guys are right, have the way, and then somebody else will come and create another shortcut. So it's weird. But imagine living in a very dystopic place, very legalistic place, and they just see you crossing the path and they arrest you there and say, come, you've crossed, pay the fine. Oh, you've dropped this paper. Like that. So these are there's a legalistic, and legalistic people are people who want you to keep the law as it is. If it is like this, they are very strict. And I am a person of no, I think just be liberal. You can have laws just to put order, and when there's some disorder, you deal with it in a liberal way, in a fine way. Why do that? It's because when you make laws, you also have to know whom are you making the laws for. You need to understand the nature of that person you're making a law for. You see, some people are not the same. There are some people who are rowdy by nature. So you have to know how you deal with them. Some people have disorders, mental disorders. Right now, according to me, any form of terrorism, that's a mental case. Any form of mass murder, they are all mentally ill. There is no way a mentally stable person can think of committing mass murder and he stands there and he wants to be caught. He's mad. Because people who murder, they plan. That's why if you study murder is malice aforethought. You have planned so that when you do it, you're not caught. That's how they do it. That's why murder cases take long to really find out whether this person committed murder. And you can't just guess someone did it. You have to really prove beyond reasonable doubt. But these shootings that happen these days, and and what ISIS used to do, and the guy is just standing there. Oh my God, the guy is sick. He's very sick. And so mental health is a very big issue to deal with. It's not even about race. Now I've left that these days when you watch on social media and people say, oh, when it's a black man, nah, all of them are sick. It's just mental illness which needs to be checked. So now the so my point is, as I conclude, as I'm still musing on this, I can't do a whole thing. I'm just thinking, I'm just throwing a bit to you. And so um when you make a law, you should consider who is for whom you're making the law and why you're making it, and whether you are not going to face counter attack for that law. That's my take. And secondly, the reason why law always comes last after things have happened is because you have time to observe a situation. Observe a situation. You see, that's why the ones of what happened in Israel, they made laws of things that had already happened and were happening, like worshipping idols. Israelites were worshipping idols. Rachel had idols. Homosexuality, it was there. It was there. It was in Egypt. It was everywhere. It was not bad. And it's still not bad. It's just a expression. People make laws for things they don't like. You know, if you're a homophobe, are you going to make a law in favor of gay people? Ask yourself. If you are a racist, are you going to make laws that will encourage racial harmony? Why did Jim Crow laws exist? Why did apartheid exist? It's because the people who were in power were racist and they had an ideology that made them believe we cannot live with somebody of a different color. They're different from us. And so we put them aside. That's how it was done. I mean, Nazi Germany, Hitler did things in the law. Martin Luther King said it very perfectly, that there's nothing Hitler did not do that was not under the law. And I would say, to be specific, the local law. You see, the reason why Hitler managed to do such a big genocide, there was no international law. There was no international law. Now that we have international law, there is nobody who can repeat that thing. And guess what? If you try to repeat, there's ICC, because there's a Rome Statute that now protects persons from genocide. And so that is what Hitler should have gone through. Of course, his accomplices went through it through Nuremberg, the Nuremberg trials. But the fact I'm trying to bring out to you is that there was no international law. That's why the UN, the setup of the UN, was a very important thing. It is a body that governs, that makes sure countries remain sovereign, but they make laws based on the UDHR. I'm only waiting for the UN to gain strength. I find it very weak, but it would be a body. My vision of UN, and I'm going to do a video of UN as we are celebrating 70 years of the UDHR. We're going to read, during the week of the birthday, we're going to read the each and every clause of the UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and we're going to digest it and chew it and bring it out, so that this time UN don't make a mistake. They need to look back and see how well they have done in implementing those principles. And are they a law or they're just principles? They are guiding principles. They are not a law. But in my view, to help the world, you need to implement principles should guide laws so that now we don't have laws that are detrimental to people. Like any law, in my view, any law that is colonial should be removed. That's my view, whether it's good or bad, so that the country starts again and makes laws that take care, that are based on the UDHR principles. Because most of the colonial laws, they were created before there was international law. So the problem of that is some laws were very, they went against human rights, like the homosexuality, anti-homosexuality laws. They went against human rights. They went against human rights. And other laws, like as I told you, the Jim Crow laws, thankfully they were removed. But there are other colonial laws that were bad. If you read through the colonial laws of the past, you should have time, especially the ones in Africa. You laugh. There was one for the dancing style. It was so obscene. According to the colonialists, they had to draft a law and say this dance should not be danced because it was making people think about sex. So I'll when we do another time talk about laws, I'll bring those laws up. And they were very funny. And so, in my view, every country that becomes a new country should set up new set up new laws to mark their creation, and then they come with their new constitution. Of course, now it's too late. All countries are independent. There is no country that is looking for independence. So what they can do now is go to the closet and look for colonial laws, or alternatively, just declare any law made before the time of independence is null and void, and now we are going to make new laws for those situations. That's my take. Anyway, my 2 cents on law, I'm still thinking about it, so it's a process. I was just throwing my thoughts, but I'm still thinking about it. But one thing it has done to me, it has made me think about Paul twice. I think Paul was just focusing on sexual behavior and other things. You know, there are some laws, there are very many laws that, and diverse laws. So some laws that deal with interesting comment. And she said that she was surprised to find Egyptians marry amongst themselves. Sexual can marry a cousin because in China it's illegal. And then she gave a very good reason, because they know the illnesses that come about due to inbreeding. But here she is in Egypt, and inbreeding is okay. So you see, that's the other aspect of law we're going to look at. That some people legislate something that is criminalized somewhere else. And it's weird. And we'll talk about that when we talk of what Trump administration has done. Trump is basically running away from standing up for gay people worldwide. He prefers sitting pretty and making America happy only. And he's more local now. So he's not bothered about the gay rights in other countries. And it's a very important issue. So that's why, to my view, I said if Trump has done that, then the best thing that can happen is UN should just take the mantle and insist and tell other countries that are lagging behind there's a need to do that. Meanwhile, the LGBT activists and organizations in those countries that have homophobic legislations should continue and now have work to do on their own without Trump, without America. Okay, guys, I can talk and talk. That's why I brought the philosophy channel here. Talk. It is my, I think it's my gifting. If you're with me, we can talk about very many things, and it's to, the reason why we are talking is not just to talk, but to analyze and see if there's a way forward. It's beautiful. I don't know. That's how I feel, and I'm happy I can have time to express myself on various issues.